Okay, here we are. So we're ready for the next part of this lesson. And in this lesson, what we're going to do is we are going to add some more features to our server.js file because we installed not header, but helmet and cores. So we're going to employ those. And we're also going to set up the connection to our database. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Um, so let's start off. Uh, let's import helmet and cores. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to put that here. So right here, this is how we handle our security. Okay. And so, we need to install helmet and core. So I'll do it right here. We'll say const helmet is going to get require helmet. Const cores is going to get require cores. Okay. So just like any other node package, we import it like so. Okay. And now we're going to say, hey, server.use, and I can say helmet, just run an instance like that. Okay. And then I could do the same thing here, say server.use cores. All right. And this adds the layers that we need, the security that we need for this project. And basically, what this would be used for is, say, uh, like images, or if we have some static JavaScript or CSS files, it could be used here. It's not going to really have a major effect on this particular project, but we're going to use this. Okay. Now, with helmet in particular, okay, and we're gonna configure helmet. Cores we can leave as is, but with helmet we're going to configure it. In the future with this project, say when we let's say we wanted to build out some pages for this using a view engine, or even if we were using a front end library, we would want to configure helmet to allow certain things to be used. Okay. And in particular, um, let's say we wanted to use some bootstrap for this. Okay. So we wouldn't, the way that it's written right now, we wouldn't be able to do it. It will block any kind of CDN, not just bootstrap, but any CDN that we wanted to use. Um, helmet is strong enough where it would just block it. Okay. So we want to say, hey, we're going to let certain things kind of go through. Okay. So let's set that up. We're going to configure helmet. So with this line right here, the server that I use helmet, I'm going to put a little comment right here and say configuring helmet. Okay. So we're not going to use this anymore. We're going to do this instead. Let me move this down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say server.use. Okay. I'm going to say helmet dot content security policy. And this content security policy, it is a method that takes in an object like so. There you see the curly braces. So it's going to take in an object, and make sure that you're spelling this out correctly. If your auto predictive text does not pop up, you should see lowercase c, capital S, capital P. All right. So helmet dot content security policy, open parentheses, and then open curly braces. We're going to take a object for here. So we're going to set this first property, use defaults. We're going to set that to true. Then we're going to say cross origin, capital O, resource policy, and we're going to set that to false. And then two other ones. Cross origin embedder policy. We're also going to set that to false. And just pardon me, I'm going to, once I get finished typing, I'll show this because that hideous pop-up, I don't like it at all. Keeps popping up, gets in the way. I'm going to say directives, colon, this is an object, and the first property, in quotes, img-src. Okay, and then it's going to be an array right here. I'm going to say double quote, single quote, self, single quote, close that double quote, comma, double quote, https colon space data, like so. And then the next one is double quotes script capital SRC. So script capital SRC, not scripts, as I've done many times and wonder why it won't work. Colon square bracket double quote single quote self single quote double quote comma double quote cdn dot JS not deliver with the E .net. So this is the configuration for Helmet that we use. So this is our content security policy. You can go through and like just Google Helmet and then content security policy, and you can read up on the different properties that that you can use. All right. So again, this is just configuring Helmet, dealing with the headers. This will allow certain things to go through. Okay. So you can say, hey, it's okay for this type of script or have you. This is okay to work, like particular this cdn dot jsdeliver.net. Like this will allow your bootstrap script to come in, letting it in the door so that the JavaScript functionality will work for your project. You know, like say buttons, for example, one small example. Or if you did, you know, if you added a carousel, don't add a carousel. But if you did that and other things, okay. And so that's that on that. Now we're going to add a couple other things for this project. We're going to need to say, hey, server, we're going to set up our URL encoded to true, and we're going to say, hey, use JSON. And give me 1 second. This is a live video, I know, but I got somebody coming to fix some furniture. I'll be right back. Don't you love it? All right, here we go. So, as I stated, what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, server, set this up so that the data is JSON, I guess that's the best way to say it. So I'm going to say here server.use express.json. You can look up the documentation on Express or Cores or Helmet for that matter. You can go on the web and just type in npm helmet or npm cores, or you can go to express.js.org. I believe it's .org or .com, and look at the documentation, and it will explain in better detail, much better than I could, what these different things are doing. Okay, and then lastly, we're going to say server.use express.url encoded. Okay, open parentheses, open curly brace because it's an object, and we'll set extended to true. And here we go. All right, and so this is all the different configurations, I guess, that we'll use for our server. Our server is almost fully completed. Okay, but that's what we have here. And again, like with the server, I call it a server.js file. You can go with app if you want to. I could have named all these app instead of server. Most people will do that, which is fine. There's no particular right or wrong answer with that. But this, again, what this file does is handle all of the top level configurations for your node application. Okay, so again, in our package.json file, we set server.js to be the main file, and when we run the script, whether it's start or dev, we're saying, hey, run this particular file, server.js. Okay, and so everything is running from here. And what we know is with our usage of microservices, we could have the server to say, hey, I'm not doing this part right here. Go send that task to someone else. So let them go and do it. Let this person over here go and do it. And that's what we're doing. Okay, so there we've got um our server.js file almost fully completed. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to connect to our database. Okay, and to connect to the database, some people, I mean, you can, if you want to, connect to the database right here inside of your server.js file is perfectly fine. I'm not going to do it. I don't. Okay. And there are reasons why I don't do it. The main reason is because to connect to your database, you're going to have to use your username and password. Okay. To connect to the database. Just like we would if we were inside of our terminal and I have to MySQL-u root-p, and then I enter my password there. No different. You got to connect to, you got to use your password to connect to the database. And so I don't want that to be exposed out here in my server.js file, because when I push this up to GitHub, there my password will be. Okay. So we can do all that in another space. Again, the use of microservices allows us to do that. That's why it's important to do these things and not just be all, wild, wild west with your code. Okay. So how are we going to do that? What we're going to do is we're going to create a folder here, and I'm going to name this folder config, C-O-N-F-I-G .js, config.js. Notice it's in the root folder, okay, and not nested inside of another folder. All right, and inside of this config.js, I am going to create a file that I'm going to name dbconfig.js. So config.js, and then create a folder called dbconfig.js. All right. Now, once you get there, all right, you got those two things created. The first thing that we're going to do before we create this configuration, let's go over here to get ignore, and we're going to add this folder to our get ignore. Okay. So I'm going to say here db, no, I'm going to say config. I'll just add the db config. So config.dbconfig.js. So now this particular file, my dbconfig file, is going to be added to my get ignore, which means that it won't be visible in the repository, which is good because, again, in my dbconfig.js file, I'm creating a connection to the database, and in that I have to expose my password, and I don't want that to be visible for everybody. Okay, so once you got that, let's come back over here to our dbconfig file. Okay, let me close this up because I don't need you anymore, or at least not for right now. Get ignored. So here I am in dbconfig, and we're going to build a connection to the database and connect to it. Well, actually, we're not connecting to it here. We're just building a connection to the database. Okay. And so, again, with this, we're going to use MySQL 2. There is a MySQL 1 or just MySQL that you can use, and it works just fine. It's not deprecated or anything. However, with MySQL, you don't have as many features as you would with your MySQL 2. Okay, so let's set that up. Let's go ahead and build this connection. We're going to start off by importing MySQL 2. So I'm going to say const MySQL is going to require MySQL 2. Oh. All right. And so now we got that. Now that we've imported it, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a pool. Okay. A pool. So previously with MySQL, the node package MySQL, what you would do is you would create a connection. Okay. And again, with the connection is a single connection to the database, meaning that everything is going through this one connection. Okay. But what we're going to do here with creating a pool, with the pool, we're able to create multiple connections, or it will enable multiple connections to the same database. Okay. And you may need that. Let's say you have multiple queries on a single endpoint, what have you, something like that. Or you could have, different servers hitting this database at the same time. And sometimes you may need that. Okay. So what we do is we're going to create a pool instead of just a single connection. All right. So here we go. Here's how we do it. We're going to say const pool is going to get MySQL dot create pool. As you can see also with MySQL 2, you can just create a connection. That's fine. But we're going to create a pool, open parentheses, open curly braces, and this is going to take an object. Okay. So the first property we're going to add to this object is connection limit. We can set how many connections we want on the same to this particular database, and I'm going to set it at 10. So connection limit 10. The next thing is the host, which of course is going to be local host. All right. The user is going to be root because that's how we connect to the database. Again, if you go back and look at your database, MySQL-u root, that's what we're referring to right there. So the user for this database is root. Okay. The next property is password. And so as a string, you put your particular password in here. Obviously, I'm not going to type this out here so all of YouTube can see. But whatever your password is for your database, okay, enter that data here. And then the database that we're going to use. So what database we're going to use, again, going back to the project that we did before in the series of videos for database management, we're going to use MyAlbumDB. So come back over here and we're going to say MyAlbumDB. And once you get that, we need to export it. So I'm going to say module.exports pool. And that's it. That's how we build the connection to the database. And what we'll do is in other files, we will we'll import this particular module, our db config file, and use that to connect to the database to get data. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this video here. Okay. And I'm going to add my stuff in here. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and stop sharing. And now I can add my stuff in here. And then I'll have that good to go. All right, so I added my password. Cool. So in the next video, again, what we're going to do is we're going to set up our router for this to start creating our API. All right. So I will see you on the other side of this video. You all take care. Like, share, comment, all that other stuff. All right.